Well, and welcome to today's edition of 600 Seconds of Trading. My name is Alejandro Zambrano, Chief Market Analyst with Trade Captain and Amana Financial. I'm based out of London, the Forex capital of the world, and I'm going to provide you guys with a quick update on markets such as Bitcoin, Eurodollar, gold, crude oil, and the DAX 30. We'll also, of course, take a look at other markets as well. You're most welcome to join me in the chat box. As long as you have a YouTube account, which is free to have, then you could interact, you can follow the videos, you can like the videos, so it's quite useful. We have a Kota in the chat box this morning saying good morning. Good morning to you as well. I hope you're having a good day, and thanks so much for joining. Let's kick off, and we're gonna kick off with the euro as we usually do. And let's actually pay attention here a little bit to the developments here in the just in the changed. You can see here that euro dollar is down with about 50 pip. You got pound dollar down with 43 pip, dollar yen up with 41 pip, and Aussie dollar down with 44 pip or 0.63%, and the New Zealand dollar up with about 50 pip. So just looking at these markets really quickly, it's quite clear that the dollar index, or the dollar itself, is doing well. And let's actually begin with the dollar index. So this is the dollar index, and this is a daily chart. And a few weeks ago, the dollar index breached this ascending triangle. So trigger that move. I bought myself actually down here on August 9th at the end of the day, then the market rallied. Now, according to this pattern, the dollar index should have reached a high of 97.58, and we never went that far. So that target is more or less as well pretty much the highs here. You have a high here, which is the June 20th high. That's the June 20th high, and sort of within the same range of the target. And this is June 2017. Now, the market obviously trading that pattern would have failed in a way that the market went all the way up, tumbled below this breakout candle, and anybody that was long would have been stopped out. Now we're having an attempt to sort of break out of this range again, and from a purely macro fundamental perspective, the Fed looking to raise interest rates, the U.S. economy doing well. It wouldn't surprise me if this market succeeds in trading higher. And the only issue though is that we don't have a solid pattern. The first pattern I just showed you is at the window now, and I don't really have a new pattern to work with, at least not what I can see. No, not even in the 4 hours there's like a solid pattern to work with. It looked maybe we could have done like a right shoulder here and had an inverse head and shoulders. That would have been nice. So I don't really have nothing to sort of, not like a solid setup. But with the macro fundamentals and just a bit of common sense, I think if we trade above 95.73, I think this market could probably go up a bit and then down, and then it will just continue this bullish trend that it's been working with. And here, we might not get like a solid pattern to work with, but maybe if you look specifically in some of the currency pairs, you can find more solid patterns to play with dollar strength. Now here again, I think if you keep an eye on 95.73, I think it will probably take that out, probably go a little bit higher, then probably a little bit lower, and then probably up again. And I think you could potentially work with something like this low here, which is the low from September 3rd. Okay, something I didn't even say, by the way, I forgot to mention that totally. Please note that trading financial markets unfortunately is risky. 80% of people that trade Forex and CFDs lose money. I'm a profitable trader myself since 2014, and hopefully I can guide you to trade better and support you in your trading. but at the end of the day, you're ultimately responsible for your own trading actions. I think everybody understands that, but it's always good to bring that up again because I've never had any complaints, and I've been in the industry since 2006, 2005 actually. But you never know. All right, let's move along here. So overall, dollar doing good, quite clear. Dollar is moving up. Take out the high. Most likely you'll see stronger dollar across the board. This is your euro, and yesterday the market traded below, actually on Friday the market traded below 115.94, which was my trend defining level. As you might remember, I was tracking this to the upside, okay? And at the end, I like to push stop losses higher and higher and higher, so I get pushed out of the position. But it looks like that level I chose was a good level as well, because the market at the end of the day, you know, continued to move to the downside. That's how you know if you put a good stop loss. That is if, you know, when the market takes out your high or your key level, in essence, the market continues to go in that direction. In other words, took out the stop and continued to go to the downside. Now, right here, right now, in this market, I cleared everything out. I think it's good to remove everything sometimes to get a sort of clear, fresh view. Now, the market, see it like this. The market has been trading sideways around 116.26 with a bit of a detour to the downside, which quickly was rejected and the market pulled to the upside. And for me, we're still stuck in this range, pretty much the same as the dollar index is stuck in its range. And it's only when we start to deviate away from this level that I'm going to start to feel more comfortable having a strong bearish view. Right now, this high is 116.36, and I think if we push below here, maybe that could work as a trend defining level. In other words, a stop level. Potentially one could sell here, stops on the other side, and potentially see the market work itself lower. That's sort of what I can say today. Let's see how things look like tomorrow and the day after. If the market looks to establish itself to the downside, then it could be, you know, we can potentially work with a bearish view. For now though, this market is just trading sideways, okay? Now here's the pound versus the USD. We're gonna cover that today as well. So obviously Barnier from the EU says that the UK is gonna get a special deal. On Sunday, he says that, I didn't actually read the statement, I just read the secondhand news. And they said in something in line with that, you know, they're not going to be able to offer them like a special deal on trade, which is just sort of what everybody was banking on. Now, the market gapped and it never closed the gap properly, at least according to this chart. And that doesn't matter. Forget about those gaps. I'm sure online forums were buzzing with, you know, how this gap needs to close, just buy now, you'll be okay. It doesn't necessarily work like that. It's always about risk reward. If you have a gap of 20 pip, 30 pip, and your potential risk is 100, well, then it's not a good risk reward ratio. You don't trade that. So that's my comment on gaps. Now here, because of the news were out, we just need to add things together. First, you had that push to the upside on those comments, and then the gentleman says, well, no, we're not gonna do that. Well, clearly the fundamental case from that push goes out the window. That's why I never bought this dip, and as I mentioned to you guys yesterday, it could move to the downside, and that's exactly what happened now. And if one was buying, then there's nothing to do now except taking a loss. That's just the way it works trading. I'm wrong about I think I'm wrong almost about 60% of the time, and I'm right 40% of the time. And I always try to keep my losses small. So here, the market took out support. I think this is gonna probably go to the next low, and then we'll see what happens here. But probably it could be something like the situation with the New Zealand dollar. Look at this. We said A break to 66.15 should cause this market to tumble, which it did. And here this market is something I wrote an article about as well on Trade Captain. I do think we can go down to 64, and the way this is looking, probably more weakness. So maybe we're here, like we're here right now in the pound dollar here, about to take out that level, and then we'll see, is it just gonna slip to the downside or push a little bit higher? That is the tricky part with this, and there's no right or wrong here. I mean, will it take out the low and plummet, or will it just go a little bit lower and push to the upside? The way the dollar is gaining today, I would sort of suggest or tell me maybe we'll see it go down without maybe a strong correction. Tactically though, do we want to sell here right now? Is it sort of the best opportunity? Again, you always need to say where I'm going to put my stop loss. And right now, I mean, I guess the best stop loss would still be up here, which means that we need to risk about 210 pip. It is potentially possible to put the stop loss at maybe 129.17, but that's such a short-term setup that it's nothing. I don't trade those short-term setups anymore. So I'm personally not going to be selling here right now, but I suspect that we could probably take out the low, go a little bit lower, then maybe go up a bit, and then we'll see what happens. But most likely lower here. Let's take a look now at Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin, and the market continues to trade to the upside. We said a few days ago that if we push above here, we want to be bullish. We pretty much touched our target. I also said look to buy here, and the last view I shared with you guys was to remain bullish. So I'm going to remain bullish as long as it's trade above 6,791. I think the market can go down here, and if it would go down, I do think traders are going to buy, and then they're going to try to lift this to the August 2nd high. Take out this low though, then we'll be stopped out, and the market could potentially go lower. Here's the price of gold, and here we just need to add things together, right? You have euro dollar trading sideways, you have pound bearish, you have Aussie dollar bearish, you have New Zealand dollar bearish, you have dollar yen trading sideways, and you have dollar CAD trading sideways. So the dollar is doing okay, I would argue, and technically it is possible to buy here, but I suspect, given the way things are looking, that this is probably not gonna hold, and I wouldn't be buying here, and I'm gonna be bearish below that level, and I suspect we can touch maybe 1182 followed by 1170. Risk reward ratio wise, I think it's good if you target in the lower end here, so you're risking about 1.7% to potentially make 1.95. So I'm going to be bearish here on the basis of what's going on across all the other markets. There's nothing wrong though if you want to keep the first idea I shared with you, because technically we're still bullish, and forex markets are weird most of the time. So, but my judgment tells me that probably lower rather than higher. Here is crude oil, West Texas, and the idea was to be neutral here, and then when the market starts to the upside, let's look to turn bullish. I said we could potentially buy a dip here. That has not happened. Instead, we just had that break to the upside. This is traders buying, and I think stop loss orders are just going here at 69.45. So that's my view. We can clean this up and just do it like this. Like that. Next target up here, I would argue at 72.11, then potentially a bit higher. German DAX moving to the downside, and I wouldn't get too excited here right now. This market in the big picture is just trading sideways, so it's a bit, there's no trend here. When there's no trend, then my style of analysis, which is trend following, performs poorly. So I wouldn't pay too I wouldn't even do too much here. There is, however, this possibility, which I prefer. You can treat this as a descending triangle. Low, low, and then that trend line. From that perspective, if we take out the low, we could have a bearish push. It would also suggest that this whole thing is going to collapse. And if it would collapse, then obviously I think we could head much, much lower. This is, I think it's a diamond. I'm not an expert on that pattern, so we need to look it up. But common sense suggests that even if it's not that pattern, it's some sort of a weird rectangle, which would imply that we could potentially see this. It's a 16% decline. I don't think that's going to happen. But it's interesting, and again, keep a close eye on 12,107. Take that out. It could most likely just push price down to the 2018 low. The target itself will suggest an even lower push, which would trigger this bigger pattern, which potentially could take us much lower to maybe something like 10,775. So this is something to keep a close eye on, because it could potentially be something where we could get involved here, tight stop loss on the other side, and propels you down lower, and then maybe continues to push a little bit lower, and then we'll see if it sort of goes all the way down or not. But it could potentially return to a very, very good reward ratio setup. Anyway, keep a close eye on this. For today, the market is still just trading sideways, so I'm extrapolating very aggressively when I'm looking at these markets, because if we don't even trigger here, then none of what I just mentioned is going to happen. But this is many times the way I operate. I look at all the markets, I have a huge list, and I just look at everything, sort of try to pinpoint markets that look interesting, and then look for patterns that are interesting, and then I just wait. So there's always a few of these markets that I keep a close eye on, and then I just wait. Okay, let's see if we have any questions. So no questions, so I think we're gonna wrap things up. Maurizio is here. Good morning to you, sir. I hope things are good in Italy. Kota, where are you based? Please let me know. If you are watching as well, don't forget to click on market, click on the title, and then just hit that like button. It's really important that you do. And as well, don't forget to follow me on Twitter. So my Twitter handle is AlexFX00. So AlexFX00. And even if you're not on Twitter, you can most of the time just go to twitter.com/AlexFX00, and that will allow you to read my latest tweets. And also, you also want to follow the Trade Captain Twitter feed. You have Nathan publishing content, Yuri publishing content, and Harris as well. And Harris shared a very nice setup in New Zealand dollar versus the Swiss franc about 4 weeks ago, which I traded myself, and I managed to get pretty much a 5 times risk reward ratio trade on the basis of his idea. And New Zealand dollar versus the Swiss franc, I rarely look at that pair, but he published a nice little setup, a very compelling setup, and I decided to trade it. And then you had the rate meeting from New Zealand as well, which moved to my advantage, and yeah, 5 times the risk. So check it out. Most of the content, all right, good. And most of the content as well, you can find it just here on the news. You can search for asset classes, but it's not always that you're gonna find everything there, because the system is not too clever. if you can usually just click on technical analysis if you're looking for trade ideas, and you can have these tags. You see here in New Zealand dollar versus the USD. If you click on it, you'll find everything we have on New Zealand dollar versus the USD that we published lately. And you can sometimes just go to TradeGap, then /tags/ and we try to stick to the same. So if you're looking for Bitcoin, it should be BTC USD. However, sometimes myself, I used to tag Bitcoin. You can do things like that. You can also click on just search here as well. Hopefully gonna find you. So, okay, so we got a question here which I missed. So the question was, I think it was from, let me see, Mohammed, I think it was. Mahmoud said, which are the most important indices to focus on? It depends. So right now, bullish stock market indices, and I think the easiest ones to trade are the US stock market indices. I'm long myself, and I've been trading a lot of indices this year. Why? Because if you look at the S&P 500, to give you an idea, the market has been bullish and is clearly moving to the upside. And I think in the case of the S&P, I think it can continue to trade up to 2,983. So this is, I think it makes more sense. This is going one way. German DAX is going sideways. I mean, you can experiment. You know, you have S&P, you have NASDAQ, US 2000, you got the Dow Jones. They all pretty much look the same. So you can just sort of choose where your technical analysis makes the most sense. Like here, my target for the Dow Jones is up here at 27,635, and we're still here at these levels. So I don't think it's going to go in a straight line, but I think it's possible to potentially trade this to the upside. So that's what I would do. Kota says that he's from Singapore. Awesome. All right, good. Thank you so much for letting me know. We have a few good amount of people from Singapore watching our things. So you're in good company. Okay, guys, have a good day. And I'll see you guys tomorrow, pretty much around the same time, so 9 o'clock. The best thing is to subscribe because you get an email notification when I go live. And as well, if you're on Twitter, but 9 out of 10 times, I send a message letting everybody know that I'm about to go live with the morning webinar. Have a good day, guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you.